to the interview series of The Informed Entrepreneur. My name is Heike Heyman with IdeaShare Business Coaching, and today I'm here with Mary Ahern Snyder of Significance, Inc.
Hi, how are you?
Fabulous. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having us here today. We had a brief conversation earlier, and we talked a little bit about your background in terms of how you kind of stumbled into what you do at Significance. Do you want to just give us a brief summary?
Well, my background has always been in business development and sales and hunting and looking for opportunities either within a sales opportunity or in a business opportunity. So I learned initially from my father, just being raised by him, and he's an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. So it was not a scary thing for me to get into my own business.
And you've actually built a sizable company before this one.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the size of that, what it did,
so,
compared to what you do now.
In 2004, I started a company with a business partner, and we grew organically just by providing great work, great people on site, and developing relationships with the client and giving the client what they really needed. There's a lot of consulting companies out there that are sort of never want to leave, so they're either in there all the time thinking of taking their time on the project or even delaying the finish or adding. So I think by providing quality service and then building that reputation within the client base really helped us go from 2 people to well over 100.
That's fantastic, since 2004. So that's really a growth curve that a lot of people would admire and strive for, and maybe not quite get to. So can you share a little bit about some advice you received along the way and some of the things that have helped you become the business person that you are today?
Well, first and foremost is treating people fairly, ethically, not looking at the vision down the street, down the lane, and not really being focused on sort of that immediate gratification. So building your business, treating people fairly, and not burning your bridges, and communication and communicating that information to anybody that works with you, sharing your vision with them.
Right.
Learning to work within personalities.
Yes. There are a lot of companies out there where the communication bit is the one that kind of falls off the table. You've also mentioned that you've been in groups like Vistage and TAB. What role have they played in your business growth?
As painful as that is, they're the bitter reality. They're telling you, that what they do for you is tell you the truth, and your shoddy business practices or your financials look bad, or they're willing, it's difficult to have these conversations with people. So what it's done for me is it's certainly allowed me to evolve into a better business person, a better executive, a better leader, knowing that probably managing the daily tasks is not my forte, but keeping an eye on what to look for. And these boards are certainly invaluable. Until you can have your own board of advisors or your own board. This is something that every small business should consider.
Have a peer group.
Some type of peer group, and even just an objective coach. In some way to give you perspective.
Right. That's very valuable.
Yeah.
Now. In your growth curve with the previous company and now with the new one that you started in 2014, and you're already back up to 13 people.
Yes.
That's really impressive. How much time do you spend on long-term goal setting versus working sort of in your company rather than on it?
It's a struggle, but I do try to spend a good amount of time looking at where we're going to go, what's happening. It's it's a process. So you need to always you need to be sharing that vision with the people that work with you. So I'd say I should probably, as we get bigger, it'll be less pulled in 20 different directions, I'll be allowed to specialize more in my, my best, my best asset, which is basically my business development strength. But I'd say about 25%, probably always looking at, taking a look at the future.
Right.
And then there's the days when you have to make sure you have enough from the bank account for a payroll, and
right.
Making sure you're hiring somebody, getting an offer letter, all of these little things that you have to jump through especially when you're small and you're wearing lots of different hats. So,
yes, right.
So that's, it's a struggle because you constantly get pulled in, so you need to, give yourself that time to sort of look at the future and
Yes.
see where we're going to go.
Yes, and that's where some people get lost, is just in the day-to-day as opposed to looking ahead.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
25% of the time is a really interesting number.
Yeah. Preferably more, but then,
Yeah, you got to
get
balance
the
all
daily
of that
grind.
out. Absolutely. So you mentioned earlier that relationships are very important, both the relationships with your clients or potential clients as well as internally.
Yeah.
You mentioned a tool that you use now.
The DISC. Yeah, so the personality assessment. And, honestly, one of the key people that joined me in Significance, it was actually almost a reinforcement of using the tool set, because I'm a big, D and I, hopefully everybody knows that. And the gentleman that I brought on board was very complimentary, very structured, very detail oriented, and it has literally, been nothing but wonderful, working with us. And then now any key people that I bring on, I give
You
them
use
the
the
assessment.
assessment,
Yes, it just gives a good perspective, and it's a little bit more of an objective look at somebody that you're talking to and seeing where that they can sort of add value to your company.
Yes, and whether there's a cultural fit.
Yeah, and
Because we all could theoretically be accountants, but for some of it gives us energy and we're in the zone, and for others it's, oh my gosh, I can't see another number.
Yeah.
So it's that cultural fit in addition to the skill set
Yeah.
that lets people work at their top
And being
strengths.
cognizant of their, what their strengths are and what their, what, drives them.
Right.
What, so,
And that helps with the management.
and you're able to, so if you're able to speak to them and their, in their terms, then
Right.
that's motivating to them. So, you want to always, there's nothing better than a person that's actively engaged in your company. So,
Right.
besides yourself, so whatever that, whatever that carrot is for them I think is definitely a very vital part of running an organization that's, highly functioning, from a personnel standpoint.
Right, that's fantastic. And personnel is such a big chunk of overhead.
Yes.
It's really important. So when it comes to your staff, how much time does managing take in your day-to-day, and what's the most challenging part and what's the most rewarding part of just managing a team?
When you see that you're all working together for a common goal, and an example would be, we had an opportunity to build our company with an opportunity within DoD, and working collaboratively with everybody and everybody knowing the strengths and weaknesses of each other, able to accomplish, this particular effort was within, as I said, DoD. But knowing, being aware of the surroundings and the skill sets of others, and seeing, minus me, seeing them work together, and they've never, just,
Right.
which is, that's very, for me, I feel pretty rewarding versus a dissension or, backstabbing type of organization
Right.
where you're, I think that everybody sort of cares about, not in sort of the utopia way, but everybody sort of has respect for each other, and sort of driving that. But, the challenge is, of course, you're not, you're going to make decisions that people are not always going to be happy with. So, okay, sorry, we have to meet next week because we can't take time off of our billable work, or, we're going to have to, cut into your personal time, or, it'll all be, working back end, or there's just, always something that, it's going to not appeal to everybody, and you just got to be cognizant of that and work with them and be empathetic that,
Right.
that's, it is what it is, but I understand that you're upset.
And you mentioned firing is one of those really hard things to do.
Yes.
But it impacts the company as to whether you keep someone on board.
Yes.
That isn't the right fit.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that other people see when you make those decisions, and they, hopefully they appreciate that it's not an easy thing. But then they'll respect you, like, okay, she said, this, she was able to make the decision to, this is not a person that's going to add value to our company.
Right.
It's bringing, and the fact that they're able to see that I can make a decision like that, that's, hopefully they can respect that,
Now let's talk a little bit about the services you offer as a
Okay.
company. What is it you do, and who do you see as your clients?
Ultimately, at the end of the day, the government is our customer, and sometimes we'll go through a prime contractor they'll hold the contract, or we'll be the we'll be the direct customer. The client ourselves will be our direct customer. So what we do is mostly the business support side of the government. We provide financial expertise. Audit readiness is a big issue right now. The DoD is supposed to be auditable in 2017, which probably will not happen, but we're trying to get there. Learning some new, ways to be more innovative in helping the government get there. So, they're very traditionally very opposed to change and not a very dynamic, institution. The government is probably the hardest, and it's the largest organization of IT users, and anytime you make a change, it's very disconcerting to them. But sort of having them embrace the change management and learning to do more with less, and so that's sort of their initiative right now.
So within the government services that you offer, most of it's IT related?
It's IT or business support.
Okay.
It's the business support side of the whether it's the Department of Homeland Security, DoD, Navy.
Right.
We're not going to get into building a Joint Strike Fighter. We're not going to be part of the aircraft carrier, shipbuilding. We're not going to necessarily get into the actual mission of the organization, but the back support office.
Okay.
So learning the government accounting methods, learning the government budget process, working with them for business process, kind of standardizing on some of their business processes, taking them off the manual paper type of processes
Right.
and more of the electronic, or creating a workflow that would work more effectively and be able to be implemented across an organization. So.
Now, you did not originally come out of the government space.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the transition from non-government to government as your primary client?
Yeah. So for me, I'm ultimately the salesperson. So, for me, it's just a different, the way they do business is a unique way, the way they account for things. I am definitely not a typical candidate for a business owner in this industry. That's typically a prior military, prior government, or prior large firm. I'm just a salesperson that's going to transition. A relationship building is my forte. So this is an incredibly relationship-driven area, the business, especially within the financial community of the government. So for me, I found it, there's a learning curve. There's a lot of nuances about the government business that are unique. And so that does take a little bit of time to sort of acquire. But, other than that, you just kind of, you grow as you're going. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, again, and I understand why people are afraid to do business with the government, because it is a little bit overwhelming, but it really is just, there's not rocket science.
Yes.
So.
Now, one of the other things you mentioned in our conversation earlier was the need to keep learning, because there's always change with regulations and other things.
Yes.
And I would imagine as a business owner, that's an important skill, regardless of whether your client is the government
Yes.
or the non-government sector.
Yes, absolutely. Continually learning just, new ways to run your business, new ways to, recruit, new ways to manage the different technologies that you can use, and then just evolving as a leader.
Right.
Always keeping an eye on am I growing as a person? Am I and I think that and empowering people to do so also that's in your that are in your organization to grow. And I think you keep growing until you're dead. Yeah, that's
hopefully.
yes,
Some people get stuck.
Yeah, but yeah, no, not because you'll never get there. You always want to learn different things. So
Right.
that personally for me is big because again, that's life.
Right, right.
So-
And then the other part that came up earlier was the need to kind of set boundaries between business and non-business to recharge your batteries.
Yes. Yes.
You can't keep running on empty.
Yeah, so making your, when you're a small business, you live your business and you're always, getting called at home, somebody stopping by, whatever it is, but making yourself, push away from the desk or, get off the email, get off the phone at night and sort of giving yourself that time to decompress. And then sometimes, a lot of times it gives you or refreshes you enough to say, okay, now you thought of a different solution for an issue that you have. So
Right.
making the time for your family and making, your business will still be there in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately.
Right.
Fortunately or unfortunately, no matter what. So.
Right. Now, are there some tools that really come in handy besides the standard, laptop and cell phone, or certain apps that help you run the business better?
Well, there's, there's some specific databases and other core things with government opportunities that we use. And there's a government IQ, but just keeping track of the best tool for me is being able to keep track of the opportunities we've got going, because there's a lot of there's always opportunities. And so managing the pipeline, if that's why you say it, or using a CRM is probably one of the key areas where I feel that is vital to the organization, because it's so easy to drop the ball when you're get sidetracked or something. So keeping your finger on the pulse of what you've got going and what
And a CRM is the primary tool that you
Yes,
use.
yes.
Okay,
And then there's
fantastic.
there's some project management things, or to do almost like delegating out some of the tasks that just basic 101 operational tasks. So.
Right. Now, your team isn't all at one location. What challenges and benefits does that have?
Benefits is probably, well, everybody's pretty much on site with the government, which is the one benefit is obviously not having to house them and have them all within one office. So that's, in terms of reducing costs, it's a great benefit. The challenge is, of course, is the communication. So you're not seeing everybody every day. So having, touch points or, some type of, ongoing either conference call or meetings or lunches. We do an all hands dinner meeting once a month, and it's more of a kind of get together and see what's going on, but it definitely allows people to sort of interact and sort of feel like the culture of feel the company, and then weekly conference calls on just what's going on personally, what's going on business wise, what do we got, what initiatives do we have coming up, what Joe Schmo's, healthcare, is it great, is it not? So just kind of keeping, that cadence, the meeting rhythm, so, of interacting with everybody. But yeah, it's never, it's not, it's not, it doesn't allow for a great, continual connection with people, but, also gives everybody perspective, because everybody's a different clients.
Right.
And they all kind of come together to learn from each other, so.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Back to learning.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about is in the non-government business arena, a lot of people now go to websites, social media. To what extent does that or does that not apply in a business that is geared towards government?
It actually, it's very helpful. I think what's a challenge with the government in marketing to them is that they're very, they're not good recipients of a direct marketing. So, having, linking the LinkedIn, we talked about that before, it's a great recruiting opportunity in LinkedIn. It's even also a good connection point for our government. And they're definitely more apprehensive about this, sort of, full court press to win business
Right.
with them. So they're, white papers, using some of the social media or websites to sort of, push out white papers or thought leadership
Right.
type of things. It's definitely very helpful. And again, that, as the government, they're very uncomfortable. There's very few, because of the, so many of the ethics, laws, like with the federal acquisition regulation, but that's a way for you to softly sell and push,
Right.
public relation type of thing and some thought leadership type of thing. So, and I also find it very helpful, as I said, for recruiting. That's definitely very, and you can, doing less with, doing more with less, you don't have the ability to like run around the whole city all day long. So,
Right.
it's acceptable.
Right.
Acceptable to have a Skype interview.
Right, right.
So, people are busy, and so, definitely the technology has definitely helped a lot, and especially, pursuing opportunities within the government too, so.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing
welcome.
your insights and advice. We really appreciate it. Again, this is Heike Yeman for The Informed Entrepreneur with me, Mary Ahern Snyder of Significance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.